Can we start with the
Rim Namo Ayariyanam Om Rim Namo Uvajhayanam Om Rim Namo Loye Savasa Huram Esho Pancha Namokaro Sava Pavapanashano Mangalanan Cha Sabbe Sim Padhamam Havai Mangalam Padhamam Havai Mangalam. I will like to introduce with the high energy of Namaskar Mahamantra to a special occasion, the national seminar. To the special seminar, a brainstorming session on scientific research in Jainism. A special seminar series has to be inaugurated today at Somaiya Institute, Somaiya University campus by Shri Samir Somaiya ji. He will be inaugurating this series of science and spirituality. These two words which we all are familiar with, science and spirituality. Spirituality is all about the inner being, and science is all about the convenience of life, understanding the universal laws of nature. Especially Prabhu Mahavir was not only a visionary, but he illuminated himself, enlightened himself, empowered himself by reaching the true nature of spirit. The spiritual technology he mastered into to master himself, his internal energy, channelizing him to understand, explore, and connect with the complete cosmos, the universe, and everything which lies within it through the internal dimension. So he took the path of spirituality to explore the complete science. So in a way, he was spiritual scientist. So through spirituality, he became an explorator, a master scientist, Param Vigyan. As we use the word of science in Hindi vocab as Vigyan, means Vishesh Gyan, special knowledge, deep knowledge, objective study. And when we understand the spiritual science, we come to the perfect science, the complete science, or the comprehensive knowledge of everything. As many scientists are working on God's grand unified theory, the theory of everything. And Prabhu Mahavir, through spirituality, was able to explore the theory of everything in his own way, and he shares that we all can explore this not just by reading him, not just by listening him, but experiencing ourselves as we all encompass that power of spirituality going deep within us to explore the complete science. And so he says, Apana Satya Meseja, Swayam Satya Khoje. Explore the truth yourself, thyself. So we all have the potential to explore the complete science which lies within us. One of the famous scientists gave a wonderful quote. The bad news is that we don't have the key to the universe. Then he says, the good news is that the universe is unlocked. So we don't need to search the key because it is already unlocked. The treasure of the universal laws is open to us. It's just the observation which is needed. And the modern science has practically worked upon such sophisticated tools, advanced technology to engineer, understand, investigate, and observe deeply the universal laws which already exist from time immemorial. So spirituality is a supportive key which helps us to be a true observer, an unbiased observer, an open mind which can explore the deepest dimension. When we connect science and spirituality, comes a powerful term, spiritual technology. As we see, science is known to a limited domain of people, even though the word is famous. But the true scientific spirit is only with a few people, few pioneers, and many of them are sitting in front of me today through this technology. But technology is something which is with even the illiterate people, with the immigrants, with the people who live in the grassroots, who live in the villages, who are working. Everyone, most of the people are applying this technology without knowing its science. So importantly, we will like to arrive to this point that science is a term universally accepted, but technology is one universally adopted. And now we need that spirituality, when combined with technology, when applied in practical day-to-day life, can bring about the peaceful world order that we all want to arrive at. And so we need the spiritual technology. Now we are going to listen from the pioneers of various fields like Narendra Bhandari from ISRO, from space research, Ashok Kothari from revenue services, Dr. Gautam Bansali, one of the pioneering doctors who is working on the COVID projects in Mumbai and across, the Professor Pillai, who is the Vice-Chancellor of an esteemed university, Somaiya University, and many, Samirji Somaiya, who is a well-renowned personality in the field of philosophy, science, languages, Sanskrit, and many more, and in the field of education especially. So we are all keen to listen, everyone, and we will initiate this discussion with the powerful speech, the inaugural speech by Shri Samir Somaiya ji, the Chancellor of this esteemed Somaiya University, Somaiya Vidyavihar.
May I?
Yes. Shri Samir ji Somaiya.
Munishri, आपको प्रणाम. Thank you for choosing our university to be the venue for this brainstorming session. Our university, the motto, when it was founded of our institution, is Jnanat eva tu kaivalyam. Jnanat eva tu kaivalyam. From knowledge alone, liberation. In this motto itself, you see the samanvay of science and spirituality, because you have Gyan on the one hand and Kaivalyam on the other. Gyan ke dwara hi aapki moksha ki prapti. But what is this liberation? What is this liberation from? What are we trying to teach? Our idea is liberation has to start with the basic things. Liberation from poverty, liberation from hunger, liberation from ill health, liberation. And then if you go further, when you go into the mind, liberation from small-mindedness. And then ultimately you go into consider the world as your own when you say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Because you don't want to, as it is said in the Shastras, Ayam Nijaha Paroveti Ganana Lagu Chetasam Udar Chittanam Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So this is how we are wanting, and Somaiya Vidyavihar University is founded in creating a world in which we are open, our horizons have to widen. We have to see a bigger world out there. Our students who come in have to understand not, the timeless fundamentals of knowledge as well as the future possibilities. Just before attending this, I'm sorry I was about 3 minutes late to attend this program. There was our Maker Mela, which is a festival of makers, where young students from India and abroad come together at one of the Vidyavihar programs to dream about the world they see, to make a positive difference in the world through innovations that are either digital, scientific, or anything that they can, environmental, anything that they imagine. While we as a university strive to teach also what the future brings, we cannot forget our past connections to our past. We are we are all of us today exist in the present, and we are that thread that connects the past, the present, and the future. The past in our Sanskriti, there is tremendous knowledge, tremendous learning. My father always used to say that in our particular systems of education, the place for our traditional spiritual traditions is not there. When we became a university in 2019, the idea was to provide such a platform to bring it into the learning systems. I have seen it across the board. To give examples, I have also seen it in farming. My primary business is in the world of biorefining, where we take agriculture feedstock, convert it into products. And we have seen how traditional knowledge systems, where the use of products such as Jivamrut or Panchagavya is used very well to create a very healthy soil microbiome. So, where if you do it well, you may substitute the use of pesticides using things like Panchagavya. The idea is we cannot just take these things as truth. Science would mean that these past practices should be tested, should be experimented with, should see whether it works. And then at the same time, modern day innovations such as remote sensing can come and be brought and checked and improved, so that past knowledge combined with today's knowledge evolves into something better for a better world tomorrow. And there are numerous examples like this. There is a study we did with the use of meditation, and meditation as we do, and to see whether it affected the neuro effect on pediatric children. And I do remember a study done at our Somaiya hospital, where the ECG, my medical knowledge is not very good, but the EEGs, I think electroencephalograms were tested to see whether the frequency and the amplitude of them was differing when children were taught how to do meditation. And that also was a paper that was published. So I think with the spirit of inquiry, we need to bring in knowledge into our knowledge systems, our education systems. हमारी जो विद्यापीठें हैं, उनको हमारा ज्ञान का जो भंडार है, उनको ये उपलब्ध होना चाहिए, ताकि हमारे बच्चों को हर किस्म का ज्ञान उनके सामने आए. और अगर आज हम इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ रहे हैं, तो साथ साथ अगर हमें हमारी संस्कृति की, शायद हमें गुजराती सीखना हो, शायद हमें हिंदी सीखना हो, शायद हमें जैन धर्म सीखना हो, शायद हमें भाषाएं सीखनी हो, शायद हमें फ्रेंच सीखना हो, लेकिन आज तक हमारी जो विद्या की जो व्यवस्था है, उसमें अगर आपने एक ढांचा में अगर आप गिर गए, तो उसी ढांचे में आगे चल सकते हैं. हमें हमारी विद्या की व्यवस्था में ऐसी व्यवस्था करनी है जहाँ पे बच्चों को काफी एक जैसे बुफे मिले कि बच्चों को काफी ज्यादा सीख सकते हैं एक साथ. तो दिस इज व्हाट वी वांट टू ट्राई एंड क्रिएट. एंड फाइनली आई थिंक स्पिरिचुअलिटी is wonderful because we live in turbulent times and we are always faced with shocks. I remember a brilliant shlok in the Bhagavad Gita where Arjun asks Krishna that chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi bala vidranam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. मैं अपने मन पर काबू कैसे पा सकता हूँ मेरा मन तो वायु से भी ज्यादा चंचल है। और कृष्ण ने उनको बहुत सुंदर जवाब दिया कि असंशयम महाबाहो मनो दुर्निग्रहम चलम अभ्यासेन तो कौन्तेय वैराग्येण तो गृह्यते। यानी आपको ये अभ्यास से और वैराग्य से, एक माने स्टडी एंड प्रैक्टिस एंड डिस्पैशन, इनको कल्टिवेट करना पड़ेगा। इन पर आपको इनका अध्ययन और इनके काम करना होगा। आई थिंक आवर एजुकेशन सिस्टम्स मस्ट आल्सो टीच स्टूडेंट्स not only the competence that it requires to be skilled in this world, but also to have the mental balance to remain calm in turbulent world. The world is turbulent. Every now and then world changes around us. There is nothing, we feel that सिर्फ हमारा पुरुषार्थ है, लेकिन हमें यह भी समझना है कि पुरुषार्थ भी है और प्रारब्ध भी है, और ये दोनों ही मिलके हमारी जिंदगी है। So with this, I welcome you. Thank you for choosing us to be the venue to start this experimentation on coming together of science and spirituality. Namaskar.
A wonderful thought-provoking speech by Shri Samirji Somaiya about the need of the inquiry with the versatile openness to the different fields for the students. So it's a wonderful vision of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, where we need the abhyas and vairagya all together, the openness and the focus in the life. And now we will like to listen to the Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Rajshekaran Pillai ji, to share his perspectives on the wider scope of the study of this connection of science and spirituality.
Good morning, everybody. Adharaniya, distinguished scholars of Jainism from the different Jain institutions, my colleague from the university, director of the Dharma Studies School, Dr. Supriya Rai, head of the department of the Jain Centre in the university, Dr. Shri Jain, all other distinguished scholars. We are extremely fortunate to have Munishri and all the entire team from the Jain Research Foundation and allied institutions collaborating with us for organizing a brainstorming session on science and spirituality. Religions, usually, when we think about religions, we believe that they are dealing with the art of living only. Jainism is different in that perspective. Not only Jainism, all Indian religions are different in that perspective. We know that Vidya and Paravidya are there. We know that we have been knowing that science and spirituality are the two sides of the same coin. Just look at Jain doctrines. You will see a lot many examples of understanding cosmology, understanding the life in all systems, life across the universe. Nowadays we talk about microbiology. We are talking about microbiology and microbes. 1 milliliter of seawater will contains 300 million living beings and all that. These are all now we know. Even before microscope was invented, I think Jainism thought about the existence of the life being in all systems. And they have even mentioned, probably they have, whether it was a rough approximation or so, we do not ever know. We have also seen some of the very good scholars in India, Jain scholars in theoretical physics and all that. Recently, one youngster who graduated from the Somaiya College, he came to us for searching for a position in theoretical physics. He was trained by a very distinguished scientist in BS, and who has also contributed significantly to the understanding of Jainism, Jain doctrines, and the postulates behind the Jain doctrines in modern science, whether it be cosmology, whether it be particle physics, whether it be microbiology. Of course, in health science, I think every day we see examples of Jain practice in modern health science. So I am extremely glad that the university gets an opportunity to collaborate with this premier organizations under the Jain institutions. Of course, I had visited Munishri in his about twice. We had 2 or 3 meetings. This is his second visit to the university campus. Also, we had a very good conversation. And now, after several levels of individual and collective discussions with our faculty and the eminent scholars who are all here now, most of them are here today. We have formulated how we can go in, and that is the purpose of this brainstorming session. Let me, on behalf of the university, and let me, as a scientist, also welcome this opportunity. Understanding science and spirituality in a holistic perspective, as our Chancellor has rightly mentioned. Thank you very much. I wish the program all success.
Thank you, Professor, Vice-Chancellor Rajshekaran ji Pillai, of igniting the minds and enlightening everyone about the possible scope and connection of science and spirituality. And further, we will like to listen Shri Ashok Kothari, IRS officer, and formerly from the Custom Commissions, presently working in GST probably. And he is the protector of STRF, an Institute of Spiritual Technology Research Foundation. And he will like to present the vision of this scientific spiritual technology research foundation in his own way. So I would like to invite Shri Ashok Kothari.
तत्र विराजित परम श्रद्धेय प्रेरणा शोध मुनिश्री के चरणों में हार्दिक वंदन. Respected Samir Somaiya Saab, Professor Pillai Saab, Supriya Rai Madam, Professor Jain, Dr. Narendra Ji Bhandari, Dr. Pratap Sanchetee, and all the esteemed dignitaries present here today. Very good morning to you. Jai Janendra and Namaskar. I think respected Samir Somaiya Saab and Professor Pillai Saab has set the tone on the subject today. We are all here today because we believe that spiritual practices have to be validated by science and addressing the various problems afflicting the human society. The intellectual world appreciates that where science seeks to enlighten our minds, spirituality seeks to awaken our hearts. In fact, science with heart will be the religion of future. Mahatma Gandhi had once said that if both science and spirituality go hand in hand, then one can create heaven on this holy earth. We have with us Dr. Narendra Bhandari, who was part of the Chandrayaan mission. I want to narrate an example relating to that mission. When Chandrayaan 2 was to be launched, ISRO chairman Shri K. Sivan was at Tirupati temple praying for the success of the Chandrayaan mission. This raises a question. Why does a globally renowned, super efficient organization needs blessings of God for the success of a purely scientific project? Friend,
Sir, you have gone on mute. Kothari ji.
I don't know how.
Sir, again you have gone on mute.
I'm again.
Now be theek hai.
Yeah. So I was saying that for the success of the Chandrayaan mission, ISRO chairman K. Sivan was at the Tirupati temple praying for the success of the mission. This raises a very valid question. Why do we need blessings of a God for purely scientific project? So I want to say that there is a lot of research on the subject that when you pray or when you do meditation, when you do rituals, it contributes to your confidence, your happiness, your health. So that explains that science and spirituality are quite harmonious and complementary. In spite of this recognition, there is so much that needs to be done in this field, as Samir Somaiya has pointed out, as Professor Pillai has pointed out. Now, STRF, which I represent, Spiritual Technology and Research Foundation, was formed to undertake some meaningful work in this field. Now, I've been asked to state the vision of this institute, STRF. If I was to say in a few words, I will say that it aims to carry out multidisciplinary research, integrating science and spirituality to study and promote knowledge of spiritual practices in modern context. STRF also aims to conduct scientific research on ancient principles of holistic health. For this, it aims to bring all scholars and scientists in India and abroad connected with spiritual advancement on this platform. I think this is the reason we are all here today. And this is a great beginning for one of the aims that we have to achieve the larger objective. With its efforts, STRF wants to develop appropriate human resources of scientists interested in pursuing research related to spirituality. STRF aims to enhance ahimsa and non-violence together with Anekant and Ichha Pariman by studying to find solutions to various social problems that we face today, by encouraging the learning of humanitarian tenets of truth, non-violence, compassion, etc., and adopting them as a way of life. For the need of the research, of course, everybody has their opinion and everybody has some experience. But for the benefit of the audience, let me say that in 2016, we had a big conference in IIT Powai over 3-day period where about 100 scientists has attended. And I can tell you that there was one voice claiming that we need to do research on various tenets of spirituality. So I think, as far as the need is concerned, there is no doubt that a lot needs to be done, and STRF precisely wants to work in this field. As they say, for achieving larger objectives, various efforts have to come together for the synergies of capabilities and resources. All of us must be happy today that we have scientists, doctors, and scholars on one platform today to take the work further on this platform. And we have the divine blessings and guidance of Munishri Mahendra Kumarji. It's Munishri's vision and his untiring efforts over last 10 years that have guided the efforts which resulted in the formation of STRF. On behalf of STRF, I want to thank Samir Somaiya Sahab and Dr. Pillai for being part of this initiative and hope that your scholarly inputs will guide these efforts. Pillai sir, KJ Somaiya Institute has always been an inspiration on this field, and I think Institute of Dharma Study is one of its kind effort in this direction. Dr. Narendra Bhandari Sahab has always been associated with such initiatives, and it is because of his efforts that we have JAS, Jain Academy of Scholars, representing more than 50 scientists in the field coming together on this platform. We surely will need scientific contribution from the scientists of JS. On behalf of STRF, I want to assure both Somaiya Institute and Bhandari Sahab and the scientists of JS that we will always be there to ensure that these efforts do not lack resources. STRF, KG Somaiya Institute and JS together can achieve what Aristotle had said in, I'll put it in the quotes, a whole is greater than the sum of the parts. If we come together and do the work, surely the whole is going to be greater than the parts. Let us then aim our combined efforts in what is conveyed by a Sanskrit saying, Satya Nasti Paro Dharma, meaning there is no religion higher than truth. Let us work in this and let us validate the principles of spirituality. With these words, Om Aram. Om Aram. Is there any problem with the link?
No, we can hear.
So I concluded saying that was I on mute for some time?
No, we heard you completely.
Yeah. So Om Aram, I think I have nothing more to say. Munishri Abhijeet Kumarji.
No.
I think the link seems to be broken with Munishri.
Dr. Jain, who's speaking next? Or Supriya?
Sanchetee sir?
Supriya, you are on mute in the main AV room.
I think the main conference room is mute now.
They are on mute, correct. We just saw that. They must be,
So we can go further, and can we request Dr. S.P. Jain, or he's also on the mute side?
No, he's not on mute.
I think they are coming, looks like.
हेलो हाँ सभी को हार्दिक जय जिनेंद्र आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है
जैन साहब, आपका बहुत बुरा ऑडियो है.
Munishri, Abhijeet.
I think Dr. S.P. Jain is speaking something, but he's on mute now. Dr. Jain, S.P. Jain, you are on mute. Please, आवाज नहीं आ रही है. Some confusion on the ground.
Yeah, can I come in between now, and we'll start till they recover?
Yeah, please. I think that is a better idea because the conference hall is disconnected.
Are we connected here?
You are connected. Supriya, we could hear you. Can you say something?
I think I'll take over before they recover from this.
Pratap ji, please continue.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot, sir. Respected audience, we have heard enough on the why. Today we are started our program with the research potentials in Jainism and Science. I thought of discussing why, what, where, and how. But why has been covered excellently by Chancellor Shri Somaiya ji and Shri Ashok ji Kothari later on. So I'll go on to the subsequent aspect, what, where, and how. if you look into this one, today we have come here where philosophy meets science. These are most important creations of the universe. Latin science means knowledge, and the Greek philosophia means love for wisdom. It's both are important. It has been put as a darshan or janan or knowledge. Science takes birth from the limitless philosophy. That's the basically. So both are complementary to each other, but both are necessary. As Shri Kothari ji has said, that if we don't practice rituals, you can't reach the philosophy. But if you reach rituals without knowing them, the reasons or the knowledge, it becomes myth. That is perhaps the reason that scientific creations are needed. While philosophy doesn't need evidence, science uses evidence for backup. That's the main motto of my talk. So what the science will provide us is knowledge with testable explanations and predictions. We will prove it by experimentations or through the formal logic. What important is to reach the masses, science is very much needed. While philosophy is centered on the individual, it is centered on it doesn't come to the masses unless we have the logic behind it. So the science is for the masses and the philosophy is for the individual people. And main important point, whether the science or the philosophy, is to improve the quality of the life. Sorry. So what we need for our scientific validation are the resources. As Shri Kothari just pointed out, human resources. We need a pool of experts. Fortunately, we at our JAS, Jain Academy of Scholars, we have got a large pool of, supplemented with the STRF also, we have got a large pool. So combining them, now we have got a Somaiya and many more institutions to come later on. But what important of my niche or inquisitiveness is that we have to train young scientists and research scholars, because the people who are experts, everyone has got the philosophy, everyone has got the faith, but it is the young scientists, research scholars, and the lay people that we have to train them with the science so that they can attend to the philosophy. The finances can be mobilized from the private institutions or the government funding. However, we have to develop the system of expenditure and accounting. I will not go into this today, but as a scientific director at the STRF, my policy will be first to proactive. We have got largely into the syndrome. ये तो हमारे आगम में या शास्त्रों में था कहाँ कि जबकि किसी और ने इसको इन्वेंट किया. Example, autophagy, the Nobel Prize. Everyone is now claiming that it was there in the Jainism long back, but we have lagged it. So we have to be proactive. So we have not to just duplicate the efforts. We have to be proactive and find out the new avenues. And it's whatever we take the projects, it should be feasible and measurable. It should be deliverable both in the short term, needed so that we don't lose our confidence, and for long term so that we reach a bigger goal. But what my next point is very important. We should have concordance with the other religions and the philosophies. One of a lecture which I attended, he said that unless you go into your opponents, unless you go into the other philosophies, you can't propagate your own philosophy. So an output must be, it should be in the index journals. We must present in the conferences, digital literatures, websites, mobiles, and we must use to the maximum so that it can attract the people and we can reach to the masses. So what type of research we can go ahead? Either we can go into the basics, where like origin of the universe and the life. I'm not very much competent.
Sir, आप mute पे
But
चले
for
जाएं.
the scientific reasons, There are many projects, and I have selected two important ones. One, dietary practices.
Sir,
It's
if
very
you're
much
moving your
needed.
slides, we can't see them.
Slides
Agar
are not.
No, the slide is still on the first one.
Slide आगे नहीं.
Slide show करेंगे तो.
I think there is no slides sir further. I think that's my
We
feeling.
are on the first slide, I think. So, आप बात कर रहे हैं. हाँ, this is fine, sir. Continue, please.
Now it's visible, sir?
Yeah, now it is visible. We are on slide 6.
So, yes, slide, quite correct. Thanks a lot, sir. It's a what. What we have to research. Either it could be basic or to the applied. Basic, like origin of universe and life. And there are many more subjects, but I'm not competent. I'm not trained in looking into that one. I am more inclined for the applied research. And there are many projects in this one. Example is dietary practices. What is the use of plant-based diet? Now it is gaining the word. Eat as per the solar cycle, time-restricted feeding. That's very much in intermittent fasting. They are coming very much in the vogue. They've been publicized as an industry. We had it. I put it as syndrome back. ये तो हमारे शास्त्रों में था. पर क्या हम इसके उसको प्रोजेक्ट कर पाए? क्या हम अपनी यंग जनरेशन को इसको अफेक्ट कर पाए? और the answer is no. Another is the meditation. So these are the two important ones. How the mechanisms, how the meditation acts, whether it is only on the concentration, whether it is changing the brain, it's changing the working of the brain, and what are its benefit? Can we demonstrate it? Does it have got the placebo effect or it has got a real effect? So these all are point of the research we can carry out. And main point is how to carry out. That's the main. Either it could be literature research, where we can give now the digital, we can reach any part of the world, all libraries in the world, and all the literature. So literature search is one of the important one, but main is that if we do our own research, and to do the research on the applied aspects, we have got either psychological experiments. Example is how the concentration is being achieved, how the anger will come down, how the depression is improved. Second is we can demonstrate it by the biochemical, changes in the blood parameters, lipid profiles, hormonal changes like serotonin, dopamine, electrophysiological, EEG. As was mentioned earlier, we have done a project in the Ladno University where how the meditation changes the EEG pattern in the our college going girls. fMRI is another one. It's a very costly proposition. Whole world is doing on the fMRI, how the changes in the brain, mechanism by which the changes can be brought out. And I was talking to Dr. Prashant Kumarji of the Somaiya Institute yesterday. Epigenetic is another one, which can be, and he said that he will be able to look into this aspect also. Advanced tissue metabolites. So there are very many ways we can do the studies. For psychological, we need a large sample of the people. But for the higher advanced imaging, so like fMRI or epigenetic studies, we can go with the small number also. Am I still? So with this short deliberations, I thank you everyone for the patience listening and request the subsequent speaker, Dr. S.P. Jain, to continue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pratap Sanchetee, for your enlightening talk and presentation. And now we are going to listen Dr. S.P. Jain, Shuddhatma Prakash Jain from Somaiya University, Jain Dharma Studies.
मंगलमय मंगल करण वीत राग विज्ञान नमो ताहि जाते भये अरहंतादि महान। आप सभी का आज इस परिचर्चा में हार्दिक स्वागत है। सबसे पहले मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा, सन 2003 का 21 अप्रैल का पावन दिन था। आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ जी का मंगलमयी पदार्पण सोमैया विद्या विहार प्रांगण में हुआ और उनकी मंगल आशीर्वाद और प्रेरणा से माननीय श्री S.K. सोमैया जी ने जैन अध्ययन केंद्र सेंटर फॉर स्टडीज इन जैनिज्म की स्थापना यहाँ पर की। उस बात को लेकर लगभग आज 18 वर्ष से अधिक हुए हैं और इस सेंटर के माध्यम से अनेक प्रकार के पाठ्यक्रम हम यहाँ पर चला रहे हैं, जिनमें से प्रमुख 6 पाठ्यक्रम हैं अभी प्रेजेंट में चल रहे हैं। सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स इन जेनोलॉजी, डिप्लोमा कोर्स इन जेनोलॉजी, सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स इन प्राकृत लैंग्वेज एंड लिटरेचर, डिप्लोमा कोर्स इन प्राकृत लैंग्वेज एंड लिटरेचर, MA इन जेनोलॉजी एंड PhD इन जेनोलॉजी। ये 6 पाठ्यक्रम अभी वर्तमान में संचालित है। इन पाठ्यक्रमों में लगभग 60 स्टूडेंट अभी वर्तमान में अध्ययनरत हैं। एक खास बात यह है कि जो जैन अध्ययन के लिए MA और PhD के जो पाठ्यक्रम हैं वो पूरी मुंबई में एकमात्र सोमैया विद्याविहार के अंतर्गत ही चल रहे हैं। इसके अतिरिक्त मुंबई विद्यापीठ में भी पाठ्यक्रम है, लेकिन वहां पर फिलॉसफी यानी दर्शन शास्त्र के अंतर्गत है। स्पेशली जैनिज्म में यदि कोई कोर्स है तो वो केवल सोमैया विद्याविहार में है और यहाँ पर छात्रों को अनेक प्रकार की सुविधाएं हैं, अनेक प्रकार के अच्छे अध्यापक हैं और बहुत रिच लाइब्रेरी, काफी पुस्तकें जिसमें है, वो पुस्तकों की सारी व्यवस्था यहाँ पर है। और ये सब के माध्यम से यहाँ पर जो है शोध की और रिसर्च की, पब्लिकेशन की आदि अनेक व्यवस्थाएं हैं। इसके अतिरिक्त जो अध्यापन के अतिरिक्त भी शोध के क्षेत्र में सोमैया जैन अध्ययन केंद्र के द्वारा कई पुस्तकों का प्रकाशन किया गया है, जिसमें समण सुत्तम प्रमुख है। समण सुत्तम के 4 बड़े-बड़े वॉल्यूम जो है प्रकाशित किए गए हैं। इसके अतिरिक्त आराधना सार समुच्चय, योग सार संग्रह इत्यादि अनेक जो है संस्कृत की पांडुलिपियों का भी संपादन, अनुवाद एवं प्रकाशन यहाँ से किया गया है। इस प्रकार मेरा कहने का भाव यह है कि यहाँ पर अध्ययन एवं अध्यापन की दृष्टि से जैन दर्शन के क्षेत्र में अनेक संभावनाएं हैं और मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सभी यहाँ पर जो है अपने सुझाव देंगे और जो भी अध्ययन करने के इच्छार्थी हैं वो यहाँ पर आकर के लाभ ग्रहण करेंगे। इतना ही कहकर के मैं अपनी बात को विराम देता हूँ।
Thanks for a wonderful presentation about the Jain Dharma studies going in the esteemed Somaiya Vidyavihar University, about different diplomas and scientific courses, and specially focused on Jain philosophy. The sole course is going in Mumbai, that is in Somaiya Vidyavihar University. And now we are going to keen to listen Dr. Prashant Kumar, who is the Dean, Research and Director of Somaiya Institute of Research and Consultancy, Mumbai. So we would like to listen him with this wonderful presentation.
Hi everyone. Thanks for the invitation. I'm really glad to be part of this excellent discussion where we are talking about how to nurture the science, make the collaboration to make something very fruitful, where the studies, where the meditations, where dharmas could be tagged with advanced research. First of all, thanks to Dr. Rai, Supriya Rai, for the invitation. I'm glad to hear our Chancellor and Vice-Chancellor, the thought and the very provocative thoughts that the science need to be merged. And I would just take 5 to 6 minutes to just discuss that how we are bridging the science and what is something important if we dissect the science and identify the advantage in different prospects. And this is one of the first slide where you could see that the molecular machinery that controls the function of a cell. And when we talk about a cell, it is constituted of DNA. So we talk about the gene, then the mRNA and the protein. And this is the central dogma, we call it. And if you see, it's very interesting. When we talk about any such modifications, either mutation at the gene level and the epigenetic modification, which is something very important, and I will just a little bit more focus. So the gene actually, it's a transcription. So gene become the mRNA, and this modification, we call it post-transcriptional modification. And this mRNA further moved to the protein. When we talk about the protein, it's a post-translational modifications. And at the end, we talk about the metabolites, the secondary metabolites, which get secreted through the pathway, through the process. It could be enzyme, it could be small molecules. So if you see, there are three different aspects when we talk about a cell. And the first aspect where the modifications happened at the level of gene, mRNA, it is genomics. The second level, when we talk about the modifications at the level of protein, and we call it in a broader term, proteomics. And the third bigger aspect is metabolites, which is called metabolomics. But where I bring, where I want you to think and look the prospect where there is a changes, we are talking about the genotype to phenotype. So the more we are going from gene to mRNA, mRNA to protein and metabolites, we are actually looking to the changes at the level of phenotype. A cell changes their phenotype, it's the morphology, it's an invasiveness. So any such kind of phenotype changes when there is a modification at the cellular level. Now, if we see that the meditation, how the meditation can affect, and I'm just listening and learning and understanding that it has a very impactful effect. And there is a study which focused on subjects participating mindfulness and compassion meditation, which revealed that the epigenetic aging rate in meditators is significantly decreased as a function of the practice duration. And this study has been published in 2017, and there are many more studies which have been quoted. But what is something as a researcher, it is a clear evidence that the meditation has an impact at the genome level, and you could see the significant change in epigenome. The several lifestyle factors, and the more we learn, the more we understand, we identify that it might modify the epigenetic pattern, and it could be diet, obesity, physical activity, tobacco smoking, alcohol, environment pollutants, physiological stress, and work style. So it could be any such physiological or the physical effect around the human body, human environment. And now what scientists, how the researcher identify that it has a clear link with the modification at the level of genome. Now, when we talk about the strategy for the detection of disease, and the way the previous speaker mentioned that we are using different technology, we are trying to bridge the science, and when the science has been bridged, there are many more technology which has been advanced. Clinically, we talk about the scans, different kind of MRI, CT scan, X-ray. So this is definitely helping us to understand the disease progression. In the lab, as a researcher, we use different kind of pathology or the molecular techniques. It could be FACS, immunohistochemistry. So there are different technologies which are using routinely. And one of such discovery where last 1 decade, I would say, had changed the whole paradigm of the research, the science is the NGS, next generation sequencing. We can sequence the DNA. We could identify the alterations at the level of base pair, and of course the liquid biopsy. So I would just emphasize a couple of things. The proteomics, when we talk about the building blocks of the human body, it's a protein, and protein is made up of amino acid. It is something like a wall where the bricks are the amino acid, and once the wall is ready, this is where we call the proteins. And everywhere, if you see our hairs, it's made up of a protein which is called keratin. If we see our skin, it is melanin. So proteins, when we talk about the proteomics, it has to dissect into different parts. It's a proteogenomics, profiling of the body fluids, differential protein expression, and the phosphoproteomics. So one of such discovery which was coming in my mind to just tell you, which changes the science, the practice of the science, the thought of the science, which is called CRISPR. And CRISPR, that is a revolution where you can edit the genome. You can delete the base pair, which is faulty. And this is the discovery by none other than the two ladies, the researchers, scientists, the Nobel laureates, Dodna and Jennifer. So they have done excellent, and they have been chosen for 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. So this is just to invoke the idea that the research that has advanced, and we could now think of editing at the level of gene, at the level of base pair. And this is the technology which we use in the lab. where we take the blood, we take the tissue, we try to sequence. Once we sequence, we identify. Here you could see what I have shown, that there is a mutation. The base pair has been changed from the germ line. In the germ line means a normal healthy patient, the base pair should be A, but when there is a mutation, this changes G. And this mutation reflects, it can cause disease, and any such disease. I am not pointing, it could be not only the cancer, it could be any such genetic disease, but the technology is now allowing us to actually identify those mutations, identify and remove those mutations. And this is where we are working on the single cell cloning, genotyping, mice experiment, and many in vitro assays to identify those driver mutations and to find a way to actually repair the damaged mutations. I have been told to touch base a little bit about the biomarker, and biomarker is something which is very important. And I would say this is the best biomarker which everybody knows. And I think that this is the best biomarker the world has seen, and we cannot match, not a single biomarker we have identified which can compete with this. HCG, this is for simple pregnancy test. You just go and buy this kit over the counter, and what it does, from the drop of urine, it can identify. And this is something which is used because this HCG is produced by the trophoblast cells of the fertilized ova. And this kit, you can clearly see positive, you could get 2 dots or 2 lines, or the negative, you only get 1. And this is one of such beautiful example where the science has contributed immensely for a normal people, that they can use the technology and it could make their life much easier. Another such example is troponin, and troponin is again somebody coming with the complaint with the myocardial injury. The clinician asks that, can you just make a troponin test? And they take the blood, the pathologist take the blood and they check that if you have an acute myocardial infarction or the minor or myocarditis, and you could see the level of the troponin, it varies. And this is one of the excellent tests what we are using very much routinely in the clinic. And the goal is that if we could identify any such biomarker in any or every disease condition, it will make the life much easier. And we just need to find sensitive, highly sensitive, specific and robust biomarker. So I'm just concluding my talk with the thought that the dream, when we are talking about the dream of the therapy, any such therapy, using any such technology or any such areas, the dream is to personalize the therapy. And personalize means the way we know that this particular drug will be effective for cohort A or the patient group A, patient group B, or it may not be effective for the patient group C, because that particular drug may be cytotoxic for patient group C. And this is the goal, this is the dream, and this is the future of any such therapeutic studies, that we would identify the cohort based on the studies and the technologies. So thank you very much for your attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prashant Kumarji, for your enlightening talk on proteomics, genomics, epigenomics, and the dream therapy of personalized attention to the patient and all. And now we would like to request Professor Munishri Mahendra Kumarji to give an enlightening and empowering talk on the combo integration of science and spirituality, the keynote speaker here. And especially I would like to introduce about him. He has a command over 17 languages. He is the professor, honorable professor, emeritus professor presently at Jain Vishwabharati University, which is a single university devoted to Jainism fully. And again, he is Priksha Pradhyapak. So as we discussed earlier, many research papers on meditation, its effects and all. So he is the Priksha Pradhyapak, means he is a principal of the studies in Priksha Dhyan, awarded epithet by our late Acharya Tulsi. He is also a versatile scholar and the convener of the Council of Versatile Scholars of the Bahushrut Parishad, and multiple things to say about his versatile personality. And especially I would like to refer to the book release function held at APJ Abdul Kalam's residence at New Delhi. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, former President of India, released his book, And in his keynote speech, he told about that he could not risk himself reading his book till 3 a.m. in the midnight. And he told conclusively that after reading this book, I come to a conclusion that he is not only a religionist, a spiritualist, but a true scientist and a genuine philosopher. So we would like to invite Munishri and request him to deliver his keynote address.
Chandeshu nimmanayara aiteshu ahyam payasayara sagar var gambhira siddha siddhim mama dishantu siddha सिद्धिम मम दिशं आराध्य देव के चरणों में वंदन। अनुव्रत अनुशास्ता तेरा पंथ के एकादशम अधिशास्ता आचार्य श्री महाश्रमण जी के चरणों में वंदन। All the dignitaries, scholars, scientists, educationists on this online program. The Somaiya Vidyavihar University is the host here, and we have found that Shri Somaiya, who is the Chancellor of this university, has that spirit in his spirit, which we can say can give us assistance in this noble work of uniting spirituality with science and technology. As a matter of fact, many people think that science and spirituality are poles apart. How can we have a reconciliation between such opposite domains? But one quotation from Dr. Albert Einstein is enough to show. He said, religion without science is blind, science without religion is lame. And we can understand that how a lame and blind together can save not only themselves, but they can play a vital role in saving the world also. Spirituality in essence is, we can say in one word, the quest of the self. And science as it is now in the present modern age understood, it is mainly concerned with the materialistic aspect of the truth. As far as the spiritualistic aspect is concerned, mainly the concept of consciousness and the working of human brain with the aid of consciousness is still in a dark area in modern science. But we are fortunate that some modern physicists, biologists, and other scientists, they have peeped into this domain also. David Bohm has done a lot of work in this field as a physicist, and Roger Penrose, the Nobel laureate, who participated in 2016 conference at IIT Pillai and gave an enlightening speech. Also, he is working in the field of consciousness and quantum mechanics, and maybe many more things. So this is a good omen for the whole world that scientists are taking keen interest in the field of spirituality. Now, the main object of our such discussions, and ultimately, as Ashok Kothari has made clear, the Spiritual Technology Research Foundation, the main objective is to evolve certain practical applications of spiritual technology, which can help the mankind globally, and especially our Bharat, which is believed to be the seat of learnings and spirituality. It is said in some traditions, I don't know whether it is actual truth or not, but it is a very popular thing, that Bharat was Vishwa Guru in some time. And I think that if the spirituality is united with science and technology, and if we can evolve certain techniques, certain practical applications of, say, yoga, meditation, fasting, all these are spiritual technology. And ultimately, if we can evolve such techniques which can change our brain in a way that the instincts of violence, instinct of haughtiness, instinct of utter selfishness, instinct of greediness, these are called kashaya in Jain philosophy and klesha in other philosophies. So if we can in any way decrease the intensity of all these negative emotions, Daniel Goleman has called them destructive emotions. And working with Dalai Lama, Richard Davidson and Daniel Goleman, they have evolved certain techniques to test the compassion, meditation, mindful, etc. So now what I would like to suggest is that all such spiritual techniques, whether it is mindfulness meditation, whether it is other compassion meditation, we call it preksha meditation, perceptive meditation. In yoga also there is ample scope for dharana, dhyan and samadhi. These are the three major parts of yoga. People know yoga only as a asana or pranayam, but they don't know about the other parts: yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan, dharana and samadhi. These are the 8 angas. This is the spiritual technology. So what I would like to suggest, let us all get together, join hands together, all who are interested in saving the humanity from the catastrophe which is lingering on the whole globe on account of the human follies, the human own lack of control of the self, which we call self-discipline, sanyama. Now, human being is more and more inclined to act as he likes without considering the effects, whether his action, how it will result, what result will come, and he will himself, he may kill himself like this. So now we have to think over all these things. As far as spiritual science and spiritual technology is concerned, of course, we have to be very cautious, because in the name of spirituality, there may be something which is not actually spiritual. So we have to distinguish what is actually spiritual and what is pseudo-spiritual. And best way is to test on the anvil of science or scientific methodology, the protocol which is accepted universally by all scientists. We can use that protocol to test the efficacy, the genuineness of spiritual technology, wherever, whatever it is. Let us try, and if it works, then let us adopt it, apply it, and try to find through research how much efficacy it has, to validate it, and then later on to put it in the training courses all over global education, right from the nursery KG up to the highest standards, to evolve the neurological changes, especially to make our this destructive emotions less effective, and develop, on the other hand, the positive instincts, the positive emotions, which are accepted in spiritual science and technology everywhere. For example, say forgiveness, kshama. Kshama, forgiveness may be considered in, say, in some sense or in some political ideology, a thing which is not to be adopted because it shows your weakness. But it is a wrong conception. We have to work on forgiveness and try to see actually what effect forgiveness gives in practical application in life. There are so many case studies that show that forgiveness is a very sharp weapon which can conquer even the most dreadful enemy within a moment by changing, by mesmerizing, whatever you call it, his mind, and he will become friend of yourself. Like this, there may be many things. So what I will like to suggest now in this gathering, and especially because Somaiya University has taken this initiative. You know, university is the seat of learning. And when the university thinks that such subjects where science and spirituality can come together, the positive part of spirituality and the positive part of science and technology, if they get together, and for the sake of the humankind as a whole, if we can evolve such techniques, such methods, and such practical applications which can be applied in individual life, in familial life, in social life, in national life, and in international life. Wherever the relations are there, relations between man and man, and if we can apply them and find through objective assessment methodology that how much change we can bring about in the neurological processes, maybe biochemical hormonal changes, maybe functioning of neocortex and limbic system, that is hypothalamus, or so on and so forth. So I would like to suggest all who are gathered here, and many more who may in future join us. As a Dr. Rajshekaran Pillai had talked with me and given a good suggestion that let us have one such seminar once in a month. Say this is January and we have this brainstorming session, and still we are looking forward from the scientists here, the doctors here, to give their suggestions, their remarks, their critiques. We are eager to hear. And later on, if our plan works, if Rajshekaran Pillai has suggested, according to them, if we can have such seminar once in a month for 2 hours, say, and let many other people join us, and let us have more discussion. And at the same time, as Dr. Bhandari, Narendra Bhandari, the space scientist who is connected with NASA and ISRO both, and who was the pioneer in Chandrayaan, he is very much interested that young scientists, young students, let them come forward, let them be encouraged, and let us find out some topic of such research in the field, and so on and so forth. So I am really very much what I should say. I find myself very much प्रसन्नता से मेरा हृदय भर गया है, क्योंकि मैं देख रहा हूं कि ऐसे लोग जो आधुनिक जगत में एक शिक्षा, विज्ञान आदि के क्षेत्र में हैं, उन लोगों ने अध्यात्म की तकनीक, अध्यात्म का अनुसंधान, उसमें उन्होंने दिलचस्पी ली है। वो लोग कम से कम ये आकर्षित तो हुए हैं कि जो भारत के पास एक लिगेसी है, एक विरासत है, ये एक धर्म की नहीं है, ये केवल एक जैन धर्म की नहीं है, ये केवल एक पर्टिकुलर धर्म की नहीं है, ये बौद्ध धर्म की नहीं है, ये वैदिक या हिंदू धर्म की नहीं है, ये एक दर्शन की नहीं है। दर्शन, धर्म, चिंतनशील, तपस्वी, योगी, मुनि, ऋषि, तीर्थंकर, बुद्धा जो भी भारत में हुए हैं, हमारा इतिहास भी अभी तक हमने पूरा नहीं जाना है, हम मोहनजोदड़ो हड़प्पा तक जाते हैं, आगे का इतिहास हमारे पास जो है वो ट्रेडिशनल हिस्ट्री है, चाहे वो पुराणों में हो, चाहे अन्य में हो, चाहे जैन साहित्य बौद्ध साहित्य में भी प्राचीन युग की वे कथाएं हैं, चाहे वे चित्र है, जिससे हमें एक आइडिया लगता है कि प्राचीन भारत में बियॉन्ड हिस्ट्री, दैट इज इन प्री हिस्टोरिक टाइम्स, भारत इवॉल्व था। भारत में वो लोग थे जिन्होंने सभी दिशाओं में, चाहे जैसे आज साइंस ने मटेरियलिज्म की दिशा में जो किया है वो उस युग में भी था। उन्होंने अलग अलग टेक्निक से, हम उसे माने ना माने दूसरी बात है, उन्होंने ऐसी टेक्निक से विमान भी बनाए थे और विद्याओं के द्वारा वे उड़ सकते थे, विद्याओं के द्वारा वे रूप बदल सकते थे। ये सब चीजें माइथोलॉजी मान ली जाए कुछ भी हो, लेकिन अगर उनकी मेथड टेक्नोलॉजी है तो वी कैन टेस्ट इट, उसको अप्लाई करके देख सकते हैं। जिस समय पहली बार एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम हमारे जो 10वें अधिशास्त्रा आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ, जो हमारे परीक्षा ज्ञान के प्रणेता है, जिन्होंने सबसे पहले हमें यह बताया कि हमें आध्यात्मिक वैज्ञानिक व्यक्तित्व निर्माण की अपेक्षा, हमें ऐसा व्यक्तित्व निर्माण करना है जिसमें आध्यात्मिकता भी हो और वैज्ञानिकता की हो। ऐसा उन्होंने जो कंसेप्ट दिया, परीक्षा ध्यान का एक नया मॉडल दिया, आदि आदि। उन्होंने जब पहली बार अब्दुल कलाम के साथ मुलाकात हुई, उस समय में प्रोफेसर अब्दुल कलाम प्रेसिडेंट नहीं थे, उस समय में वो वैज्ञानिक थे। हालांकि उनको उस समय में जेल सिक्योरिटी थी, मिलन बड़ा कठिनाई से हुआ, लेकिन चूंकि अब्दुल कलाम की इच्छा थी, उन्होंने महाप्रज्ञ के बारे में सुन रखा था, कुछ पढ़ रखा था, वो मिलने के लिए उत्सुक थे। और रात को जब 8, साढ़े 8, 9 बजे वो अध्यात्म साधना केंद्र बहरौली दिल्ली में पहुंचे और करीब 1.5 घंटा तक जो वार्तालाप हुआ, अनफॉर्चुनेटली आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ इंग्लिश जानते थे लेकिन फ्लुएंटली बोलते नहीं थे, और कलाम साहब हिंदी भी जानते थे लेकिन फ्लुएंटली बोलते नहीं थे। और मुझे सौभाग्य मिला एक ट्रांसलेटर का, मैं दोनों के बीच में बैठा और जो उन्होंने कहा उनको हिंदी में बताया और महाप्रज्ञ ने कहा उसको इंग्लिश में बताया। और जब मीटिंग, पहली मीटिंग जब एंड हुई तो महाप्रज्ञ ने कहा, कलाम साहब आपने जो मिसाइल्स बनाए अभी तक, वो मिसाइल्स मिलिट्री और वॉरफेयर के थे, अब हम मिलकर के पीस मिसाइल बनाएंगे, ऐसी मिसाइल जो दुनिया में वर्ल्ड पीस बना सके। तो मैं समझता हूं कि ये जो एक 2 महान पुरुषों का सपना, एक तरफ एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम, दूसरी ओर आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ, और जिन्होंने उनकी पुस्तक देखी है वो को-ऑथरशिप में द फैमिली एंड द नेशन, पब्लिश बाय हार्पर एंड कॉलिंस ने इसको पब्लिश किया है। अगर आपने नहीं देखी हो, मैं सजेस्ट करूंगा जरूर देखे। उसमें भी उन्होंने वो ड्रीम दिया है कि कैसे हम दुनिया को पीस मिसाइल दे सकते हैं। तो मैं मेरी बात को संपन्न करना चाहता हूं, और मैं अगर इस बात को मेंशन नहीं करूंगा तो मैं कृतज्ञ होऊंगा सबसे पहले प्रोफेसर पिल्लई को, जिन्होंने ये आइडिया दिया मुझे, मैंने उसको नहीं दिया, उन्होंने मुझे दिया। हमने तो केवल एक सेमिनार किया था यही सोमैया ऑडिटोरियम में, जिसमें नरेंद्र भंडारी और हमारे सुधीर जैन जो भाभा के क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स के पीएम टीम के हेड, वो उन्होंने सारा बताया था क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स के बारे में, और भी लोग थे सारे। तो उस समय में हमने देखा कि पिल्लई साहब ने इंटरेस्ट लिया, वो मेरे पास मिलने के लिए चेंबूर आए और मुझे बताया कि हम कुछ ऐसा शुरू करें। तो मैं समझता हूं पिल्लई साहब को मैं जितना धन्यवाद दूं, साधुवाद दूं कि उन्होंने एक बहुत अच्छा सुझाव दिया और हम उस दिशा में आज पहला कदम हमने बढ़ा, हम आगे बढ़े। दूसरी बात, समीर जी सोमैया, उनसे मेरा प्रत्यक्ष परिचय नहीं है, उनके पिताजी से मैं 3 बार मिला था। मैं आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ के साथ था और शांति भाई 3 बार उनके दर्शनार्थ वहां पर आए, लाडनू में आए, भिवानी में आए और दिल्ली में आए। और फिर आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ जब मुंबई पधारे 2002-03 में, तो शांति भाई ने उन्हें यहाँ जहां अब मैं बैठा हूं, यहाँ सोमैया में उन्हें आमंत्रित किया। यहाँ जैन दर्शन की अध्ययन की विभाग की व्यवस्था की गई। आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ ने उसका उद्घाटन किया और शांति भाई को इतनी प्रसन्नता हुई कि आचार्य महाप्रज्ञ के हाथ से एक अच्छी विद्या शाखा का प्रारंभ यहाँ सोमैया में हुआ है। मुझे अब पता चला कि समीर जी ने जब से इसकी बागडोर संभाली है, उन्होंने एक धर्मा स्टडीज के सोमैया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ धर्मा स्टडीज को बना करके जैनिज्म, बुद्धिज्म, हिंदुइज्म सब जो हमारी प्राचीन आध्यात्मिक दर्शन, विद्याएं, साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी है, उन पर अध्ययन, अध्यापन, रिसर्च का एक बहुत बड़ा बीड़ा उठाया है। यदि प्रत्येक यूनिवर्सिटी जो भारत की है, भारतीय विरासत का लाभ उठाना चाहती है, तो मैं मानता हूं ये सोमैया का अनुकरण करके प्योरली एकेडमिक बेस पर हम किसी सांप्रदायिक उसमें विश्वास, सांप्रदायिकता में विश्वास नहीं करते हैं। संप्रदाय अच्छे हैं, सांप्रदायिकता को अच्छा नहीं माना जा सकता। हम सबसे ऊपर उठ करके प्योर अध्यात्म की जो बात है, जिसमें सारे धर्म, सारे जो आस्तिक दर्शन है एक है, और वो यही है कि व्यक्ति, मानव, प्राणी आत्मा है, पोटेंशियली शुद्ध आत्मा है, परमात्मा है, लेकिन वो विभाव दशा में जो जिसको हम फॉरेन पार्टिकल्स कहते हैं, मैटर कहते हैं, उसके द्वारा आवृत है, जिसको कर्म पुद्गल, कर्म परमाणु, कर्म स्कंद कहा जाता है जैन दर्शन में। उन आवरणों को दूर करके और आत्मा को उस क्लची से मुक्त करना, इसी को मोक्ष, इसी को निर्वाण, इसी को मुक्ति, इसी को परम ब्रह्म लीन ऐसा कहा गया है। ये अल्टीमेट है। लेकिन हम इस जीवन में, ये जीवन जो जी रहे हैं, एक आदमी वैयक्तिक जीवन जी रहा है, फैमिली में जी रहा है, समाज में जी रहा है, देश में जी रहा है, और पूरा ग्लोब, ये पूरी अर्थ एक साथ जी रही है। पैंडेमिक ने हमें सिखाया कि कैसे दुनिया में संकट आ सकते हैं, और अगर मानव एक है, पूरी ग्लोबल ह्यूमन काइंड एक है, तो वो उसका सामना करके और उससे मुक्त हो सकते हैं। उसी प्रकार ये हमारे जो आंतरिक कषाय है, क्लेश है, उन्हें ये क्रोध, मान, माया, लोभ, राग, द्वेष, अहंकार, ईर्ष्या, इन सबको हम खत्म करेंगे, वो तो दिन धन्य हो जाएगा। लेकिन कम से कम एक लेवल तक उसे अगर हम नीचे ला देते हैं, और ह्यूमैनिटी का, मानवता का जो लेवल है वो एक लेवल तक ऊंचा कर दे, पूरी मानव जाति उस लेवल से नीचे न रहे। इवन अनटू द लास्ट मैन, दुनिया का अंतिम आदमी भी मानवता के उस लेवल से नीचे न रहे। जो हिंसा, जो ये आर्थिक, जिसको कहते हैं आर्थिक हिंसा, आर्थिक एक्सप्लॉइटेशन, आज जब देखते हैं, सुनते हैं, तो रोंगटे खड़े होते हैं। 90% जो जनता विश्व की है, उसके पास केवल 10% धन है। 10% व्यक्ति जो पृथ्वी पर है, उनके पास 90% धन है, और उनकी जो लाइफस्टाइल है, जिसको अमीर लोग कहा जाता है, ये मिलियनियर्स, ये मल्टी मिलियनर्स, ये ऐसा जीवन जीते हैं। और दूसरी ओर मुझे संख्या याद नहीं है, कितने करोड़ लोग भूखे मर रहे हैं। तो हमें समझना होगा ये मानवता नहीं है। और इन लोगों में वो लोग भी हैं, फिलैंथ्रोपिस्ट भी हैं, वो कुछ थोड़ा सा करके मानते हैं कि हमने बड़ा उपकार किया है मानवता का, लेकिन वो भूल जाते हैं कि वो जब तक ये जो अमीरी लाइफस्टाइल जिसको कहा जाता है, जिसकी आवश्यकता मनुष्य को नहीं है, मैन कैन लिव विदाउट लिमिटेड कंजम्पशन एक्सेट्रा, एंड रेस्ट ऑफ दैट इज टू बी डेडिकेटेड एंड नॉट टू बी डोनेटेड। ये अगर मान के आ जाए और वो अपनी लाइफस्टाइल में संयम को लाए, अहिंसा इन द ट्रू सेंस, एक्सप्लॉइटेशन ना करे, उनके अंदर करुणा का वो स्रोत जगे, जिससे कि वो समझ सके कि मेरा भाई भूखा है, तो मैं समझता हूं हम ये सब कुछ जो कर रहे हैं साइंटिफिकली, टेक्नोलॉजिकली, उसको हम दे करके पूरी दुनिया में एक ऐसी ट्रेनिंग की व्यवस्था करें, और उसका नाम हमने STRF के अंदर दिया है वर्ल्ड विजडम, विजडम वर्ल्ड। एक ऐसा विश्व की हम कल्पना करें। आचार्य महाप्रकृति की पुस्तक है नया मानव नया विश्व। हमें नया मानव पैदा करना है इस सेंस में कि मानव मस्तिष्क में वो कैपेबिलिटी है। हमारे यहाँ कहा जाता है जीव और शिव एक है, शिव जीव में है। हमारे यहाँ कहा जाता है आत्मा में परमात्मा है, अंदर है, पोटेंशियली सब कुछ है। साइंस कहता है नियोकॉर्टेक्स, नियोकॉर्टेक्स जब इतना बूस्ट हो जाएगा उसका पावर, और वो लिम्बिक सिस्टम को कंट्रोल करना सीख लेगा, तो ये सारी बिस्टियल इंस्टिंक्ट, ये एनिमल बिहेवियर, ये सब गायब हो जाए। तो सब एक ही बात कह रहे हैं, लेट अस गो फॉरवर्ड, let us march forward all together and make our honest efforts as we can do. We are ready to sacrifice our lives because we are saints, we are ascetics, we have no connection with any worldly people. Our whole life is dedicated to this. हमारे आचार्य महाश्रमण आज अहिंसा यात्रा के द्वारा 7,000 किलोमीटर नेपाल काठमांडू से लेकर कन्याकुमारी तक घूमे, और भविष्य में मुंबई भी आएंगे। तो मैं कहता हूं ये जो संतों का पुरुषार्थ है, संतों की जो मेहनत है, संत किसी के लिए नहीं करते हैं, वो अपने कल्याण के लिए करते हैं और दूसरों का कल्याण अपना कल्याण मानते हैं। इसलिए वो तपस्या करते हैं, पैदल चलते हैं, नंगे पैर चलते हैं, और रात को खाना नहीं खाते, आदि आदि सब कुछ। तो इसलिए मैं समझता हूं भारत के पास ये विरासत है। हम अगर इन चीज को करेंगे, एक दिन होगा, शायद संभवतः आएगा, जब पूरा विश्व मानेगा भारत को विश्व गुरु, एक विश्व सुगुरु, जो भारत पूरे विश्व को अहिंसा, प्रेम, करुणा, मैत्री, ये जो अहिंसा के जो पॉजिटिव रूप है उसको देगा, और घर घर में, व्यक्तिगत जीवन में, फैमिली लाइफ में जहाँ डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस आज प्रिवेल कर रहा है, सोशल लाइफ में जहाँ ऊंच नीच, जाति पाति का भेद प्रिवेल कर रहा है, जहाँ नेशन के बीच में स्ट्रगल, वॉर, मिलिटरिज्म ये प्रिवेल कर रहे हैं, वो सब खत्म हो सकते हैं बशर्ते कि ह्यूमन ब्रेन को बदलने की टेक्निक, स्पिरिचुअल टेक्निक अप्लाई की जाए, उसकी टेस्ट की जाए, उसकी ट्रेनिंग दी जाए, और अगर हम सक्सेसफुल होंगे तो मैं समझता हूं वो हमारा स्वप्न भी साकार होगा। सपने होंगे साकार, सपने होंगे साकार, सपने होंगे साकार, आपके मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, सपने होंगे साकार आपके। ओम अरहम।
Wonderful.
Thank you, Munishri, for your very thought-provoking and passionate discourse on our collaboration. You mentioned about the super consciousness. You mentioned about the Jain doctrine, the importance of Jain doctrines, the overall understanding of science in a holistic perspective. You also mentioned about the logistics of how the Jain knowledge can be availed for maybe making us all a little bit one level higher in our consciousness, in human consciousness. And we will, as we have discussed, we will take it a systematic activity. Every month we will have an interaction of this kind. We have already mentioned in our conversation, one-to-one conversations, we have already mentioned we might join organizing committee for this thing, and the Jain Spiritual Technology Research Foundation and all the eminent scientists. Of course, I was mentioning about Dr. Jain. One of his students is approaching us for a faculty position also. So we will definitely take it forward. Dr. Supriya Rai, Dr. Jain, and all our colleagues in the Institute of Dharma Studies will take it forward. See, this is January. This is the January month. As we have planned, it happened. I am extremely glad that you have come to our campus in spite of all the odds. You have come to the campus and you are sitting with us in the campus. Of course, I am far away, but it shows the passion. It shows the conviction of courage. And once we have such eminent gurus like you, sir, we will definitely take it forward. You have heard our Chancellor, Mr. Samir Somaiya, his passion, and also you have highlighted the 3 generations they have been focusing on this thing. And this institute is a very unique institute, Dharma Studies. After my joining as earlier as provost of the university, I remember we had an international Jain conference. We have a lawyers, something like lawyers conference. And then this is the 3rd or 4th event after my joining in Somaiya Vidyavihar and Somaiya Vidyavihar University. Now we have established a joint platform, sir. It's a joint platform. Eminent people, eminent scientists, thinkers who are working in the area of Jain philosophy in different domains, whether it be cosmology, space physics, life sciences, health, human consciousness. They will interact with the faculty, not only the faculty of the Institute of Dharma Studies. We will identify faculty from all over the country and abroad who are not mainly in the Jain research and activities, because this exchange of ideas and this cross-fertilization of ideas is very important for enhancing the knowledge systems. I would also advise my colleague, Dr. S.P. Jain, but to introduce the Jain knowledge systems in our syllabus. I do not know whether you are teaching that. Jain knowledge systems. When I say knowledge science, Jain knowledge systems, of course, there are lot of literature about Jain knowledge systems. I am not very sure whether your MA in Jain studies has this Jain knowledge systems, but I would advise you at least 3 credits on Jain knowledge systems should be introduced in our curriculum. That is the best way to propagate to the generations these things. And of course, it can be as a minor, it can be a compulsory component also. I leave it to you and Dr. Supriya Rai to do that. But there is lot of literature, lot of knowledge, lot of publications, lot of international conference proceedings. I was just looking at the University of London. There was recently there was a conference on cosmology. So there are a lot of things, and it is very important as a university, we should also make it part of the curriculum so that young generations know of it. It is for them to adopt or understand the differences and all that. That is the type of learning, churning together and the need. So that is also my advice. And I would also request to include at least 2 eminent experts from this Jain Research Foundation, Jain Spiritual Technology in our board of studies and faculties of Dharma studies, so that things can go in a systematic way. This is I am very confident of achieving this thing, and definitely we will plan systematically on these lines. Thank you very much.
Thanks you, the Vice-Chancellor, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, to give your wonderful remarks on how to ignite and explore this mission in a joint venture. And it was wonderful, and the takeaways and the wonderful ideas given by you, which can be executed in a wonderful way. And now we would like to listen Dr. Narendra Bhandari from Jain Academy of Scholars. He's a president in it, from Ahmedabad, a space scientist from ISRO, and a true spiritualist, as he has explored after Moon mission. He is all on the Man mission or the soul mission. So now he want to explore the consciousness from the inner depth, and now he would like to share his ideas, the experts view.
आपकी वंदना करता हूँ, मुनिश्री की वंदना करता हूँ, और distinguished participants of this brainstorming session. I am very happy that 2 major institutions, Somaiya University and STRF, are joining hands. And from JS, the Jain Academy of Scholars, we would like to put our might with you and join you because the task is Herculean, and we have lots of things to do before us. I think much has been said, but I'll start with a seminar which we conducted at Science and Spirituality Research Institute here at Ahmedabad about 2 years ago, कि जैन दर्शन के संदर्भ में कि 21वीं सदी का कौन सा दर्शन उपयुक्त है. We invited many religious leaders from major religions, and all agreed that Jain darshan has all the components which are appropriate to solve the world problems today. And then we were wondering why, if it is so suitable, why it is not being accepted all over the world. In fact, most of the world doesn't know anything about Jain philosophy. So the situation is not very promising, but we started, and to attract all the, to do some research, to attract people, we started this Jain Academy of Scholars. And today I'm very happy that more than 50 Jain scholars of repute from all over the world, we work together and think about these problems of how to implement it, and how to execute, how to take our doctrines, Jain doctrines, to the world. So you see, I have been a student of physics all over, and I mean for over 4 or 5 decades. I was with Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, which is a laboratory of Department of Atomic Energy, then University of California at San Diego, and then ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization. So when I got involved or interested in studying Jainism under the guidance of Professor Muni Mahendra Kumarji, I was surprised that science, what I learned as a part of physics, is the same science which is taught in Jainism. Only the application is different. In science, we apply it to the physical world, and in Jainism, we apply it to the jiva, the living beings. I was so impressed that I thought I must learn more about it. And we started the Science and Spirituality Research Institute. And then everybody was talking scientific foundations of Jainism, that Jainism is very scientific. Well, I may agree in substance, जिसे आप निश्चय नहीं कहते हैं, but from व्यवहार न्याय point of view, we are not doing anything. Because if it was true, then all great scientists would have come out of Jain community if Jainism was a scientific religion. Or scientists from all over the world would flock around our Acharyas who know all about Jainism to learn about science. But this is not true. So it is the burden of that falls upon the scholars, to understand what are the Jain doctrines and how to present it before the world and take it to the people. And so we formed this Jain Academy of Scholars, and we found that there are lots of problems in Jain science, especially in cosmology. And the book Enigma of the Universe, written by Munishri Mahendra Kumarji, he has summarized everything there. But still people find that science and Jain cosmology are not consistent. So we started working on that, and we have these roundtable discussions. We have we found that there is no suitable Jain journal where we can publish these things. So we started a proceedings of the Jain Academy of Scholars, and I was really surprised and little bit disappointed that there are hardly 100 or 200 real Jain scholars in the world. By scholar, I mean, there are knowledgeable people, विद्वान हैं, ज्ञानी हैं, ज्ञाता हैं, सब आगम के, वो सब मिलेंगे आपको. But those people who do research and bring out new concepts based on the doctrines given by Bhagwan Mahavir, they are very few. So we thought that we must try to develop it, and we have taken this very big task on our hand. And I'm glad that we together can do something, because individually or small efforts are not enough. We only dissipate our energy, but together I think we can achieve something. And there are many reasons to worry. I will not go into it. The number of Jains in the world are dwindling. The people don't know about Jain concepts. Many of our doctrines have been rediscovered by European scientists, and I think somebody mentioned about Nobel Prizes. 2 Nobel Prizes have come out of Jain concepts, autophagy and this circadian rhythm. So what are we doing? I'm actually, virtually I came to the conclusion that we are not doing anything. And so I am very happy to be part of this conclave, this group from STRF, and of course the giant education system which Somaiya College has. So what I want to mention is that we have many scholars. They are ready to help, guide research, and we have made some modules if anybody wants to work on them. We have worked modules on Jain lifestyle, on Jain ecology, on Jain cosmology, on development of Jain logic and applications. There are small problems which can lead to MPhil or degree like that. There are big problems which can lead to PhD degree, but we can hardly attract any students because of various problems which you are all very well aware of. So I think what I would like to say is that if we can have a concrete plan to execute these things, and we can take these Jain doctrines on the world platform, present it in a logical way, in the present language, in the scientific logic, in the scientific methodology, then I think we can not only take Jainism all over the world, but we can save the world from imminent catastrophe. As you know, that we are heading towards a great imbalance in nature, and only Jain lifestyle, Jain practices, Jain penances can avoid that catastrophe to occur. So I'm actually very glad that we are doing this little effort, and we have to, of course, prepare more scholars and teach everybody that Jain doctrines are really useful. For example, I mean, I just mentioned 1 or 2 things. We have a special issue of Lokakash in our, we have printed in our proceedings of the Jain Academy of Scholars. We have a special issue on Gyan Mimamsa, and we are now working on matter, because matter is where science and Jainism both meet. They have something common. And I think what I understand is that Jain doctrines can take science forward, not only in consciousness, but in understanding of material universe, of understanding of various processes in nature. And what Dr. Prashant Kumar just mentioned about the biological aspects. If we can prove, for example, I just give an example here, the karma theory, because most of the world doesn't believe in karma theory. They don't think that there is something like this, and they think we can escape. If we can establish this, because there is today the technology is there, the molecular technology is there by which you can manipulate a single molecule. You can find out the pathways of Ghati and Aghati karmas in the body, the neurological aspects, the genetic aspects, the electrochemical aspects. So we have to really go down to laboratory and establish these doctrines on scientific ground, because without establishing them, I don't think people will just accept them out of faith. So we have a big task, and we have this guidance from Munishri Mahendra Kumarji and the vision of Samir Somaiya ji and our Vice-Chancellor. We all together, I think, can do something concrete. And these are the few things I wanted to share with you. Anybody, any younger people want to work with us are welcome, and we will provide you methodology, the problem, how to carry it out, and we'll see that it is published in a world platform. So this is what JAS can offer. Now it is up to the Jain society and about the education systems which are prevalent here in the country and abroad to make use of these 50 or so renowned scholars, which we have all come together with the same objective, and use them to further our Jain doctrines and make our life better and save the earth from the imminent catastrophe. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the wonderful remarks by Dr. Narendra Bhandari. And now I would like to request Dr. Bharat Parmar from Jain Doctors Federation, JDF Mumbai, where they have, he is the president over there, having more than 5,000 doctors working across on Jain systems and helping people out. Is Dr. Bharat Parmar here? And then further we can move to Dr. Anil Kachara, Dr. Anil Jain.
Anil Jain. Hey.
Dr. Anil Jain.
Anil Jain. Are you hearing, sir? Dr. Jain? आप बोलिए. Dr. Anil Kumar Jain.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
We would like to listen your expert view on this projects and undertakings and the collaboration.
ONGC scientist.
He is a scientist from ONGC. Yes.
Thank you very much. First of all, my Bandami to Munishri Mahendra Kumarji. Namaskar to all the distinguished participants. I feel honored that you have invited me to participate in today's meeting. I will like to share some of my thoughts about probable research areas in Jainism where we can work. A detailed description about 6 Dravya, 7 Tattva and 9 Padarth is given in Jainism. Living beings are at the center stage of all these descriptions. The process of living being getting liberated from the worldly sufferings is properly defined. In explaining all this, our Tirthankaras and Acharyas used various principles of physics, chemistry, botany, zoology, life science, and also mathematics. Therefore, it would be quite interesting to do research in these areas and compare them with scientific discoveries. We can group these ideas into 3 broad categories. One area where modern science has made a lot of progress, and they are also described in Jainism in detail. We have to compare them and validate each other. Second area is where modern science has made a lot of progress, but we don't find much in Jainism. We need to search them out in Jain literature and give proper answer in Jain perspective. Third area is where science has no answer, but we find a detailed description in Jain literature. Here we can take a lead and encourage scientific world to do research in this area. Jain texts are written in such a language and style that make it difficult to understand not only by youngsters, but by we mature people also. Because of this, Jain religion could not propagate much in the world. We need to explain Jain principle in modern scientific language. Description of karma theory involves a lot of mathematics. Interestingly, Jain karma theory has a unique feature of using supernatural mathematics along with normal mathematics. Mathematicians took note of normal mathematics used in Jainism and mentioned it in history of mathematics, but hardly any attention was given towards supernatural mathematics. It should be given due consideration. It may provide some new mathematical ideas to the world. Life science, as described in Jainism, is very special. It is not only related with the path of salvation, but also with the day-to-day happy life. Instructions are given to the pupil what to eat, what not to eat, and why we should eat or not eat. This is an interesting area where one can do research to find out the effect of eatables on personality and mental state of a person. Many Indian philosophers worked in the field of meditation, including Jains. Meditation can provide mental peace and good health. Conservation of environment is a big challenge to the world. Almost all the countries talk much about this, but they do not seem to be serious because of greed and competition among themselves. They are not worried for their generations to come. A good research in the light of Jainism can give us guidelines to conserve the environment. As we know, today an ordinary person is under deep stress. Jainism may show the way to maintain peace and harmony in the world. We need to propagate principle of ahimsa, aparigraha, akinchan, and anekant in a proper scientific manner. The Jain economic model may be presented to the world that would be sustainable. In older days, there were not many restaurants. Fashion of fast food was also not there. People used to take homemade meals. For the treatment of any disease, people used to apply home remedy, or at the most, they used to take plant-based medicines. This way, they were sure that what they were consuming, whether it is plant-based or a non-vegetarian product. But nowadays, in the changed scenario, it is very difficult to find out what we are eating is having plant-based ingredients or animal-based ingredients. Every day, new products are coming in the market. So there seems to be an urgent need to establish an ahimsa academy that can provide us authentic information about this. If any ingredient is animal-based, then we should provide some plant-based substitute to replace the animal-based component. It could be a continuous research process. So for that, we need Ahimsa Academy. This academy may work for providing a way to world peace, conservation of environment, and a good sustainable economic model to the world that would be helpful to the masses in general. Also, that economic model I already mentioned. So with this, this is my thought, and thank you very much for listening me. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dr. Anil Jain, with your wonderful thoughts about how we can carry research in other Jain fields with modern science and all. And now I would like to request Dr. Supriya Rai, Director of Dharma Studies from KJ Somaiya Institute. And later on, we would like to listen Dr. Surendra Pokarna, who is also on the screen. And if Anil Kachara and Dr. Bharat Parmar are there, they can also be the part of it. Now, Dr. Supriya Rai, Director, Dharma Studies, would like to share her wonderful insights on the today's discussion and all.
Thank you very much. Actually, चूंकि हमारे Chancellor Sir Samir Sir ने already he has shared his vision, not just for a particular institution, but for the university and for education in general. And our Vice-Chancellor spoke very clearly, giving the kind of directions that we should take. And as head of the institution, I just want to say that it is a privilege to be part of this forum, which Munishri has catalyzed, bringing together people from different areas, because the kind of work that is envisaged is interdisciplinary, and we need the finest scholars, the finest minds, who will bring a sort of rigor to the kind of research that we wish to undertake. I feel very confident now that we are a private university, now that we have Professor Pillai, who is a person of science and a person of research, and in our Dean of Research, Dr. Prashant Kumar, we have a person who can support the kind of designs of research which we may want to undertake. As Vice-Chancellor has clearly directed, from our side, our effort will be how may we bring this into our curriculum, and how may we translate some of our ideas into actually research activities on the ground. So these are the practical areas in which we would wish to contribute and to be part of, and we would work with the guidance of all of the wonderful people you have brought together. That's just my short.
Thank you, Dr. Supriya Jain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Response to Dr. Supriya Rai, we have already heard that there are developed modules from this institution already available.
Yes.
And we have the freedom. Even at the UGC regulatory level, we have the freedom. Day before yesterday it has come. I mean, 10 days ago. I have circulated also. We can take 40% of the credit from the institution. They are all very renowned academics, academicians, very renowned academicians, renowned scientists. Why not we take them as adjunct professor and let them offer these modules? Up to 40% of the total modules in our courses can be from outside. Well, I think, of course, people who are external to university system, they may not be knowing it. So it is our responsibility to tell them. This is already offered. I heard that there are already modules. So these modules can be offered. I was mentioning in another context about incorporating in syllabus. Definitely that articulation between these research institutions and the university, we can do that very, very systematically. Of course, you have to probably innovate. You have to tune. You have to, all these things are there. But that collaboration is very important. And all over the world, I mean, knowledge has grown like this only, not just from the classroom only, but from different fields of knowledge systems. So there are provisions. I mean, I see great possibility from today's observations by others. It is for us to just sit together and then articulate it properly. So it can be done. That's
Thank you very much, sir.
Now we would like to request Dr. Sridhar Shah from Jain Doctor Federation to share his wonderful views, and Dr. NL Kachara is also in the ground. She's Dr. Surendra Pokarna here. They can share their views. Dr. Sridhar Shah is not visible here. Dr. Pokarna ji is here. Surendra Pokarna from ISRO, Ahmedabad, and a great Jain scholar and scientist. We would like to listen to you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुनिवर जी। मैं सबसे पहले वंदन करना चाहूंगा पूजनीय महेंद्र मुनि जी का कि उन्होंने ये मेरे को ये अवसर दिया है बोलने का। I think I should speak in Hindi or English.
Both are all are okay.
Okay, now I have heard all these things, and we have already started one institute in Ahmedabad, Science and Spirituality Research Institute, to actually carry out researches in this field from last 4 years. And also we have started one Dr. Daulat Singh Kothari Institute for Research and Education in Udaipur. To precisely do this type of work, Dr. D.S. Kothari used to talk about science and spirituality and how to reconcile them as early as I think 1970s or something like that, so about 40 years ago. So he was a visionary and he has recognized these things. Now, what I want to say is we have talked a lot. We are already very late. Very major irreversible changes have already started taking place on the earth. So I think the biggest problem of today's world is how to save this planet Earth from various type of disasters which are visible right on our face. So I would suggest that we should come out with the very, very simple and usually very easily applicable in daily life, a set of rules which everybody should follow to save this planet Earth. I just want to give you an example that Acharya Tulsi used to talk about Anuvrat Siddhantas about 50 years ago, and I have heard them. Now, as far as implementation is concerned, we are very poor at that. So I would suggest that I want to give very specific suggestion on the basis of what we have learned and what we have experienced. And those suggestions are that, is it possible that a Somaiya Institute start
सर आपके सिग्नल में थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम है वीडियो ऑफ करने के लिए
Dr. Pokarna ji, if you can off your video and speak,
and their
so it
principles,
becomes
the
more
principles
audible.
of daily life to maybe just 10 possible to reach 10%. Okay, is it right? Is it
Yes.
okay?
Wonderful.
Okay, so my first suggestion ये है मतलब कि जो अनुव्रत के सिद्धांत हैं जिनसे सीधा संबंध है पृथ्वी को बचाने का, उन सिद्धांतों को क्रियान्वित किया जाए आज के माहौल में। और सोमैया कॉलेज, जो सोमैया संस्थान जो है बम्बई के अंदर, जो उससे जुड़ा हुआ और लीड लिया है, वो इसके ऊपर कुछ रिसर्च करे, साइंस का इस्तेमाल करके कुछ इसके अंदर एक प्रोजेक्ट बनाए कि कैसे हम एक साल के अंदर 10% बच्चों को, संस्थान के 10% बच्चों को जो अनुव्रत के सिद्धांत है उसका ज्ञान कराएं और वो इम्प्लीमेंट करें बच्चे, मतलब अपने डेली लाइफ में। ऐसी एक योजना बनाई जानी चाहिए। हमारा जो अनुभव है, व्यवहारिक अनुभव है, उससे हम इसके बारे में किया जा सकता है। दूसरा, अभी मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि हमारा एक और काम जो हमने किया था कि विश्व अहिंसा दिवस 2 अक्टूबर जो है गांधी जयंती, उसको संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ ने 2007 के अंदर विश्व अहिंसा दिवस घोषित किया था। और वो विश्व अहिंसा दिवस है जो हम लगभग 6 वर्ष से लगभग 3 राज्यों में कुछ शहरों में हमने मनाया है और उसमें काफी मतलब लोगों को इसके बारे में पता लगा है। हम लगभग 3 साल से इस पे वेबिनार्स भी की हैं और काफी उसमें लोगों को जानकारी हुई है। इसमें पोस्टर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किए थे हमने हजारों की संख्या में, और यूनिवर्सिटी, गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटीज के अंदर हमने ऐसे कंपटीशन करवाया था। और ये विश्व अहिंसा दिवस मनाना क्यों जरूरी है, मैं आपको बता देता हूँ कि आज की तारीख में हर साल 25,000 बायोलॉजिकल स्पेसीज खत्म हो रही है विश्व से। जैसे कि आजकल अपने को तितली है, चिड़ियाएं हैं, तोते हैं, ये सब लुप्त होते जा रहे हैं। मतलब तो हर साल विश्व से 25,000 बायोलॉजिकल स्पेसीज खत्म हो रही है। फिर हर वर्ष 15,000 करोड़ जीवों की हत्या होती है। 15,000 करोड़ यानी 150 बिलियन एनिमल्स आर किल्ड एवरी ईयर फॉर फूड। और उसके बाद में from 1970 onwards, that is in last 50 years, almost 50% of the living beings have disappeared from the earth. So earth is moving towards now what is known as the sixth extinction. In last 550 million years, that is in last 55 crore years, only 5 times such extinctions have taken place, and they were all natural. But this is going to be man-made, and there is an immediate need, there is an urgent need to save it and take action as fast as possible. We can continue to do the research, but more application of science is required to change the current atmosphere of the earth and save it from further destruction for our children and grandchildren. Now, another type of research which we have done is on consciousness. And I am happy to tell you that we have found a very strong evidence that Jain concept of Atma is something like a quantum hologram. I have analyzed the 47 Shaktis of Atma as given in some Digambara Shastra, and found that this is very clearly showing that it is just a hologram. And on this concept of hologram, I have just applied a very recent development in quantum physics, a new branch of quantum physics known as nilpotent quantum physics. And using the nilpotent quantum physics, it can easily explain our concept of Atma, which is described from thousands of years. It is just a quantum hologram. And I would like to discuss the details with Mahendra Muniji and Abhijeet Kumarji and other Acharyas. I already started the process. So it can really provide new direction to the current problems of the world. So such fundamental research is also required, and we are doing all these things at SSRI Ahmedabad and Dr. Kothari Institute and Vigyan Samiti at Udaipur. So I look forward for your support for just carrying it out. But I would like to end it just one more suggestion to this our Somaiya Institute, that kindly think of celebrating International Non-Violence Day on 2nd October in 2022 on a large scale. And a message should go to all the Mumbai people that yes, Somaiya Institute has taken a big initiative in celebrating the International Non-Violence Day. It can be done. If you want details of the procedure which should be used, then we are ready to provide it. Whatever experience we have, we would like to share it with you. And we would also like to share all these things. Actually, Sanchetee Saab was already actually a member of our team who was involved in celebrating this International Non-Violence Day. So I would request him again that STRF and Somaiya Institute should take a big lead in this direction to celebrate International Non-Violence Day on October 2, which is being declared by United Nations. So we can do it in the whole world, actually, in all 200 countries of the world, which is very, very urgently required. So this is just a request to both the institutes, and I just end it with Vandan and first to
thank you very much, Dr. Surendra Pokarnaji. And we have a number of questions in the chat box also, and we would like to discuss on them also a few minutes later. But as previously announced, if Sudhir Jain from BARC is here, Dr. Bharat Parmar, Dr. Narayan Lal Kachara, if they are visible in the screen, if they want to just share a minute with us with their initiatives.
Sudhir Jain hai. Sudhir Jain ko.
Sudhir Jain.
Sudhir Jain.
Am I audible?
आ गया. हाँ सुधीर जैन बोलिए आप. हाँ सर. Yes.
So Munishri के चरणों में वंदन. और I already wrote my message that I am very happy that this initiative is very important. It is on the contemporary needs of our society, and we have based it everything on our age-old proven values and philosophy of Jainism. There is a lot of scope of fundamental research through thinking and experimentation. And the very important point is that a university coming to collaborate will provide a ground on which ideas can be germinated and brought to a final completion with the help of students and faculty and very eager staff and Vice-Chancellor Professor Pillai, who I find an extraordinary individual. Dr. Rai also, I really admire her thoughts and her commitment. So with the help of Munishri and everyone else, I am very happy to be a humble part of it and shall do whatever is in my humble powers. So with those remarks, I thank you all for making me part of this. I wish everybody the best.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhir Jain.
For some other meeting right now, so इसलिए मैं ज़्यादा जाना पड़ेगा.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhir Jain.
It was wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Sudhir Jain, for sharing your views on it. And now we have a few questions. Like one of them, what we have, we know, but what we do not possess is more important. Listing from Narendraji Bhandari about necessity of more research on Jainism definitely encourage people for new research. So Tarun Jain has shared a wonderful view that we need to provoke on the new research areas, and there have been different diverse viewpoints to be shared. And now we would like to listen. Dr. Pratap Sanchetee is on the line to sum up with the plan of action, and later on we may have a few questions.
सभी को धन्यवाद इस मीटिंग में पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए. As we have learned many views, we are taking note of all these one by one and in collectively. What we have learned today is that people are eager to know. People are eager to collaborate. People are there to forget their differences and come on one platform. These are the many positive points which have come through this conference. There are many views, both applied and the basic research have been pointed out. What we have decided or thought of, that we will constitute a committee which will have 2 members each from KJ Somaiya Institute, from STRF, and from JAS, Jain Academy of Scholars. And we will formulate a plan in which many projects which your suggestions I'm seeing on the chat box, many suggestions have come, but due to the paucity of time, we cannot take them now. But we will definitely take them and consider in our meetings, and we will consider their further valuable progressions. So these 2 committee, which provisionally from Somaiya Institute, we have thought that Dr. S.P. Jain will be a good person to help us, and Dr. Supriya Roy. From KJ Somaiya, from STRF, it will be Dr. Ashok Kothari, protector. You have heard him a lot. And myself, Dr. Narendra Bhandari from JAS, and Dr. Anil Jain from the JAS. Plus, we will be having many more. These are just the limited numbers, just to execute the things. But
thank you very much. We will take it forward. And the patrons of this committee will be Munishri and this Mr. Samir Somaiya.
Absolutely. It's an absolute good suggestion. And we will carry on with this one. The second point is that we will like to use or not use to take the help of the KJ Somaiya Institute for the research scholars and the staff which they have got. I'm finding they are very eager and they are very knowledgeable. So we will like to use them for our human resources. We have got a panel of experts, but most of them are beyond 60 years. So the young scholars will be getting ready from the Somaiya Institute. We are very happy to acknowledge that one.
Actually, Dr. Sanchetee, we will identify a research scheme, joint research scheme itself, and we will devote 2 or 3 full-time research scholars for that particular scheme itself, including this activity. We will just as any other science and technology research fellow, we will identify a research and education projects jointly, this activity and the research, and then we will configure 2 or 3 research scholars exclusively for this. They will be definitely working for their PhD, but along with that, they will be doing this exercise. So that is the way we are going to plan. So we will provide exclusively research scholars for this particular activity.
From the STRF side, I would like to put a special word of thanks to Dr. Pillai. You can just see the spontaneous response and the spontaneous coming for the help, not only help and guidance. That's we are getting from you, sir. It's a wonderful and it's acknowledgeable. Thank you very much, everyone. I request now Dr. Varsha to put a vote of thanks.
Dr. Varsha, is she visible here?
Yes, I'm present. My word, I'm audible?
Yes.
Am I
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Ash?
It is.
You are audible, Dr. Varsha.
Yes.
No, you are mute. You are mute. Dr. Varsha.
Yes, I'm speaking.
Yeah. Now, please go ahead.
It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank you all the dignitaries. On behalf of KJ Somaiya Institute of Dharma Studies, I would like to thank members of Jain Academy of Scholars and Spiritual Technology Research Foundation, our distinguished speakers, Dr. Gautam Bansali, Dr. P. Sanchetee, Dr. Prashant Kumar, Munishri, Dr. Narendra Bhandari, Dr. Anil Kumar Jain, Dr. Bharat Parmar, Dr. S. Pokarnaji for making an excellent presentation and making this talk very meaningful and interesting, and talking on the possibilities of research in the field of science and other academic field with, of course, special reference to Jainism. Dr. Pillai, Dr. Sudhir Jain and others have also shared their views. I would like to express our deep gratitude to both the Munishri for their presence in this wonderful event. I heartily congratulate all the students present in this meeting and all the scholars, directly, indirectly participant for their active, they have actively participated in this meeting. Thank you everyone once again.
And your chairman and to the chancellor and your chancellor, Mr. Samir Somaiya.
Yes, sir.
For his presence, he was for
Yes,
2 hours, he was listening to us.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir.
Now we would like to listen the Mangal part from Munishri Mahendra Kumarji Swami. Pre to that, I would just like to share you about the chat box. The Arpit Jain, FIU Miami, who is a bioinformatics scientist in genomics, working in sequencing data analysis, and he wants to contribute to it. So he is most welcome to this forum. Rajendra ji Bhanavad has wonderful ideas and has questions about action plans to it. So we can have one-on-one discussion with him later on. And Renuka Jain, who wants to volunteer and as an educator at NGO, she is already working, and we also welcome her. And she can be connected with through Ashok, Kothari and other platforms. And now we would, and there are many other suggestions and wonderful things, and they can be taken care of in the next meeting, which can be in Feb some date, which has to be freezed. And if any date that can be discussed later on, and we can arrive to. Now we would like to enlighten us by the special energy of Mangal Part as a happy ending to it.
Chattari Mangalam Arhanta Mangalam Siddha Mangalam Sahu Mangalam Kevali Pannato Dhammo Mangalam चत्तारि लोकोत्तमा अरहंता लोकोत्तमा सिद्धा लोकोत्तमा साहू लोकोत्तमा केवली पन्नतो धम्मो लोकोत्तमो चत्तारि शरणं पवज्जामि अरहंते शरणं पवज्जामि सिद्धे शरणं पवज्जामि साहू शरणं पवज्जामि केवली पन्नतं धम्मं शरणं पवज्जामि। ये चारों शरणा सगा और सगा नहीं कोई, ये भवि प्राणी आदरे अक्षय अमर पद ओम ओम ओम।
कृतज्ञोस्मि हम सब आपके आभारी हैं। कृतज्ञोस्मि हम सब आपके आभारी हैं। कृतज्ञोस्मि हम सब आपके आभारी।
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. So, third week of February. Next is third week of February. The dates will be decided then.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Dr. SP Jain, please record the chat and send to me.
Yes, record करके भेज देंगे जी।
Thank you.
Yes, I will send.